Hey, what's going on, everybody? Justin from Budget Barbecue. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today's not going to be a barbecue cook per se, but we're definitely going to be making something that's going to go good with a lot of things you can do on the grill. So as you read in the description, today we are going to be doing a bacon jalapeno jam. And from all the research that I did on this, and I actually was inspired to do this by a restaurant that we went to as a family when we were on vacation last week. And this was actually on top of a burger that I ordered, and it was amazing. So I just knew that I had to kind of do some research on this and find a good recipe, and I think I've done that. So let's head over to the stovetop here. I'll show you the ingredients, and then I'll show you how we're going to put this all together. Let's go to the stove. All right, folks. So for today's cook, the first thing we're going to start with is a pound of bacon. And I know this is going to look to some like a lot of onions. However, part of this recipe, as you'll see as we go along, is you actually really sweat those down, caramelize them. So those are actually going to reduce by quite a bit. We also have some jalapenos, one red and one green jalapeno here. We're not super duper spicy people, so I do want a little bit of heat, but not overpowering. So I kind of did tone that back compared to a lot of the recipes that I had found. The other things we have here is a half a cup of some good whiskey. We have a half a cup of brown sugar. We're going to be doing some maple syrup. And then back here we also have some balsamic vinegar. So we're going to go ahead and get this bacon browned up. So the first step in this process is we want to go ahead and get the heat going here. And as you all know me, I am a cast iron guy, so I am actually using my cast iron pot here. And the first thing we're going to do is really crisp up this bacon good. So I'm going to go ahead and get that started. I'll bring you all back once we're close to getting the bacon done, and then I'll show you where we go from there, alright? Alright, folks, so we are getting pretty close to the bacon being ready. And I wanted to come back for just a second because the next step we're going to do is we're actually going to drain this bacon off into a strainer. We're going to reserve a little bit of the pork fat to put back in the pot to saute off our peppers and onions that are back there. But before I do all that, I did want to bring you back and show you, because the reason that I know we're getting very close to where we want the bacon to be is you can start to see what we call bacon foam. And that's going to be an indication that the fat has mostly rendered out. And that we're getting really close to that crispy point. So I'm going to go ahead and get this finished up, get the onions going, and I'll bring you all back. Alright, folks, so we have the bacon strained off. We reserved about 2 tablespoons of the pork fat, put it back into the pot here, and then we started getting the onions going. And here's the thing I really wanted to mention about doing the onions and all. Anytime you're caramelizing onions, you can't rush this process. In order to get them to start releasing those natural sugars in the onion and really start to, caramelize that natural sugar, it takes time. There's a lot of chefs out there. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos where people will throw other sugar into the mix in order to caramelize them and get them to that point. You don't have to add any sugar to the mix. You simply have to have patience and allow the onions to extract those natural sugars. So that's what we're working on here in the pot that I just showed you. Is we're slowly letting those do their thing, and then I'll bring you back in and show you where we go from here. Now you might be asking yourself, or you might be trying to ask me, hey, Justin, those onions, they look done. They're not. I'll show you what they look like when they're done. Alright, so, you see how you can see those little, whoa, back out, Justin, back out, getting fogged up here. So you can see on some of these how you're starting to get that little caramelization on the edge, right on that piece there. That's what we're looking for on all of them. So as you start getting to this part of the process, you do want to start mixing them up a little more. But again, this isn't burning them. This is the natural sugars of those onions starting to release themselves and naturally caramelizing the onion, which is exactly what we want. So once we get these just a couple minutes further down the road here, we're going to add in our bacon, and then I'll bring you back in and we'll show you the rest of it. This next step after we add the bacon in is going to be the step that I like to call the kitchen sink, because this is where we're going to dump everything else in and just let this come to a simmer for about 40 minutes, and then we're going to be ready to taste. All right, folks. So we have now added the bacon, as you can see. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in a little bit of balsamic vinegar, probably about 3 tablespoons, 3 to 4 tablespoons. Whew, need a gas mask after that. We're going to add in about 3 tablespoons of maple syrup, maybe a touch more. You know, can't ever have too much maple syrup. We're going to add in our brown sugar. And we're going to add in our half cup of whiskey. Now, the only other thing I am going to do with this is I am going to add a little bit of water because we need this to simmer off for a little while. So I'm going to get a little bit of water. We're going to mix all this up and I'll bring you back. All right, folks. So we have all the rest of our ingredients are now inside the pot. I've reduced the heat down because basically what we're wanting to do now is we just want that to slowly simmer. We want all those sugars from the brown sugar, the sugar in the maple syrup. We want everything to just kind of really reduce down. All that's going to help thicken this really, really well. But the consistency again that we're going for, is a jam-like consistency, and it is going to be fairly chunky, as you can see. Now, you can certainly pulse this a few times, like in a food processor or a blender, if you want it more, more of a puree kind of consistency. So just kind of recapping for you really quick here. What we did to start off the jam here is we crisped up a pound of bacon. What I would strongly recommend in this recipe is again, being budget barbecue, we have to think about that, keep our budget in mind. So we did go for more of a value type pack of bacon. I would recommend, if it's within your budget, to kind of spring for a higher quality bacon. By all means, I would encourage you to do that. There's a lot of variations that you can also do to this, and I'll kind of explain those in a minute. But after we crisped out the bacon, we drained that off. We reserved a couple tablespoons of the pork fat. We put that right back in the pot to start caramelizing the onions, the peppers. I also did add in about a half a tablespoon of garlic, and we caramelized those way down. Once that was done, we added the bacon back in along with our half cup of whiskey, half cup of brown sugar. We put about 4 tablespoons of maple syrup. We also put about 4 to 5 tablespoons of the balsamic vinegar, and then I added probably about a half a cup of water. And then we're just slowly again letting this simmer down. I'll bring you all back once we're close to being done so you can kind of see what that finished product looks like, and then I'll kind of tell you some variations that I saw as well. See you in a few. All right, folks, so a little bit of an update here. So I did go ahead and make the decision to use the hand blender to give it just kind of a rough blend. As you can see, there's still some really good, some good solid chunks in here. But so here's what the other thing I wanted to show you, because if you go back to that segment a moment ago, when we first put everything in here, you could see a lot of liquid in the pot. And the whole idea behind this is that you want it to slowly reduce so that most of that liquid evaporates out through that slow simmer process. So obviously you want to leave it uncovered while you're doing all this. But here's why I want to show you. I just went ahead and killed the heat a second ago. And some of this sheen that you're seeing obviously is from the bacon, as it's starting to render out even more of the fat into the sauce, which is okay. That's flavor. We want that. But here's how I know I'm at the consistency that I really want. 2 ways. One, as you're kind of stirring it, you can see that as you go in your circle, you can still see the bottom of the pan a little bit before it, before it comes back together. The other way that I know, a similar process, but this was always a trick that I knew when I was working in kitchens, that I always knew that my sauce was kind of ready to go and was thick enough, is you can always take your spoon, and as you kind of push back on what's in there, you can see where it takes a few moments for it to come together. In this case, it really takes a while, almost like that syrup consistency, which, as we're making a jam today, that's exactly what we want. So I went ahead and turned off the heat. We're gonna let this cool down just to room temperature, and then I'll bring you back once we jar it up. We'll do a quick taste test, all right? See you guys in a few. All right, everybody. Well, the moment of truth is here. Again, I've never made this recipe before. This is just kind of pulling this out of my back pocket here. See how she turns out. I'm pretty optimistic though. It smells really good in the house right now, so I am excited to try this out. So without further ado, let's see how she tastes. Definitely get the oakiness or the oakness of the whiskey in there. Really got a nice balance of heat. I know my wife and I were a little worried when we were putting the amount of jalapeno in there. Again, we're not super crazy spicy people, but really kind of get a little bit of that heat on the back end of the bite. Nice porky flavor. The onions definitely come through. I think if I had to be totally honest with myself here, I would probably say that it needs some more seasonings of some sort. And I know some of the recipes I researched did call for certain spices and things. I did keep this one more basic. I did add a little bit of ground pepper, but that's really the only kind of spice that I added to it. But overall, I have to say, really does have good flavor. I can see that going super well with, obviously on a burger or with like a cheese and apple plate, something like that. So overall, I have to say, pretty good for the first go around. Would definitely recommend anybody. It was really, as you can see, fairly simple to make. It is kind of time consuming. I think the overall cook was probably about an hour and 45 minutes between crisping up the bacon, caramelizing the onion. So it is a cook you have to be a little patient for. But again, overall pretty impressed. So I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in. As always, if you haven't done so yet, please hit that subscribe button below so you can get the videos as they come out. I'm not like most of the channels out there. I do have a pretty busy schedule most of the time, so I don't have like a consistent day of the week right now that the video comes out. It really just depends on what works for our schedule. So but that's the important reason that you're gonna hit that subscribe button so you can get the videos when I get them out. You can also find me on Facebook and Instagram, both under Budget Barbecue. Look forward to any questions, comments, any suggestions of things you want me to see. You want to see me do, just let me know. I'll be happy to be open for suggestions and questions. So as always, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, see y'all later.